Inshallah, always a reminder from myself and anybody have any interest. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Atiyullah, Atiya Rasul, wa ulul amri minkum. That from Mawlana Shaykh Hisham's teachings and realities, that from the lataif of the heart and the spiritual path, from the qalb to the sir, and from the sir to the SirSir, that entering into the reality of light that we've been talking for the last few nights, from the guidance of the body, there's the guidance of the light and the soul, which is nurul iman, to maqam al-ihsan, is to pray as if you see Allah. Has to do with the reality of sound and the reality of hamd and zikr, and that every light will become a sound and every sound is an energy, going back into the origin. And alhamdulillah for the understanding, and one of the understandings for the lataif of SirSir, and where Naqshbandiyya begins its journey and its realities begin from that understanding, that entering into the oceans of light and realities of the Divine, the Presence, is like entering into the fire. That Allah wants for us to conquer our fire so that we can be at peace and move into that Divine, the Presence. And the two Prophets that represent that reality was Sayyidina Ibrahim and Nabi Musa. That in their stories and the importance in many of their stories, but Sayyidina Ibrahim is in the importance of that fire. That the fire of Nimrod had built a fire to throw Sayyidina Ibrahim into that fire. And we've said many times before that that is from the teaching, that the only way to enter into that Divinely oceans of light, of nur, and the real and the reality of that nur is the ghadab, and the anger has to be conquered. If you have anger, you have no nur. If you are not able to control your anger, it's a sign that your nur is a fake nur, a false nur. Allah wants that fire to be brought down. So then at that level Sayyidina Ibrahim because every Prophet has a teaching for his nation and has a timeless reality. Allah has no time. Means there must be a timeless reality from every Prophet of Allah that's relevant for us today. That not history stories, Qur'an is alive, relevant to right now. It's not a book of history and stories of old. It must be alive and living. So Sayyidina Ibrahim through his soul begins to come and inspire the heart that everything around us is a fire of Nimrod. Everything Allah has made for the believer like a fire. And what Prophet described last days, holding your iman would be like a fire in your hand, because everything around is that fire. So to be from the reality of Khalil ar-Rahman to enter into the intimacy of that light and the proximity of that light, which that maqam al-SirSir is the lataif of that heart, they're teaching that that fire has to be conquered. They have to understand that every fire around us is trying to ignite, trying to make everything to explode, and for us to be lost in the fire and become one with that bad characteristic. And they teach us that if you want to enter into these oceans, you want to enter into these realities, then everything must be based on conquering that anger. And they begin to teach that, قُلْ يَا نَهْرُ كُونِي بَرْدًا وَسَلَامًا عَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمَ from Holy Qur'an. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. قُلْ يَا نَهْرُ كُونِي بَرْدًا وَسَلَامًا عَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمَ has a tremendous reality. But the one that is relevant to this understanding is that that fire has to become cool and peaceful. Means that if we want to enter the way of combating our anger, is that every moment every wudu, every washing is, Ya Rabbi qul ya nahru kuni bardan wa salam. Ya Rabbi, let this fire of within me and around me be diminished, to be taken down, to be destroyed, because that fire is ruining me, making me physically to be sick, making me spiritually to be sick, destroying all my amal. Because every amal that fire comes in touch with will burn it into being nothing and has no value in Allah's Divinely Presence. What's the value of someone's amal if they're filled with ghadab, and their ghadab make them even to kill someone, make them to commit violent act, make them to be angry, make them to be violent. What Allah wants from that servant? Nothing. So they teach us that that has to be conquered, that anger has to be conquered, that anger has to be turned into the fire of divine ishq and divine love. Means that what they begin to teach, that that burning that taking place, it has to be controlled. You have to be conscious of that anger. You have to begin to enter into an ocean of testing. You put an external reminder for an internal problem. Means if you ignite quickly, if somebody argue with you a little bit and you become very angry, means you're like toxic, you're like alcohol, that it doesn't take much to ignite you. There can be no light of faith. So they teach so that we understand we are still in oceans of illusion. We are in an illusion that we are reaching somewhere, and they're teaching us that that fire has to be brought down. That by understanding the wudu and understanding the water within us, the water around us, that, Ya Rabbi, let that water to bring down this fire. Let Salatul Najat, which is at the time of Salatul Tahajjud, that when you go into prostration and Salatul Najat is to be saved. That making a prostration in the 2 rakahs of Salatul Najat, and in that prostration asking, Ya Rabbi, that take away this fire that is burning every characteristic of mine, burning every amal of mine, and is burning me. And they begin to teach that with that wudu and that consciousness you begin to control that fire. You begin to control that fire, and they want that fire to be turned into the fire of divine ishq, where keep your mouth, keep your way, that don't express your anger, keep your anger to yourself. Later if they activate you, you will be angry on Allah's behalf. That's something different. When awliyaullah become angry, they're angry on Allah's behalf. And when they're happy on Allah's behalf, because Allah has overtaken their senses. But we are far from that understanding. We are angry only for our behalf. And they want us to know that the fire is the root of all evil. Every bad characteristic is bad because of that fire. Means if that fire is within the abd and the ocean of jealousy comes, every characteristic and bad characteristic is like an oil, like gasoline. If there's a fire there, it merely touches it and ignites like a combustion engine. Every bad characteristic will be ignited by the ghadab. So think about whatever characteristic we have, it will be ignited by that fire. Means it will be intensified. So you see people with all their bad characteristics, they ignite. Some ignite to the point that their whole complexion will change. Means their entire blood is on fire, and it would cause all sickness in every organ on their body. They're teaching, you cannot have fire, you cannot be hot-tempered. The whole training in this school and the reason for the rock and the reason for the tarbiyah is that they're going to begin to make du'a. Their du'as begin to ignite lights and energies and imtihan in life. That is the schools of tarbiyah, and why they are real is because Allah merely accepts the du'a that, Ya Rabbi, they have come into this school and they want to achieve what you have set aside for them, let the testing begin. Then the student has to know that Allah is going to test at every direction that control your qadab. If you are entering into these Divinely lights, that fire of anger has to be brought down. All the bad characteristics that will enable that fire, every haram and every forbidden that enters into the body is the fuel for that fire. So you can't put the fire out if what you're putting in is contaminated. It allows the fire to keep nourishing. So then they begin to teach the washing with that zikr, conscious of that flame, conscious of that difficulty that coming. Then in your salah they begin to teach, instead of exploding, cry unto Allah. Western philosophy tells you, oh no, if you have an anger, take a pillow and start beating something or someone. Let the anger out. It's completely wrong. If you let that anger out, it's like a fire that will become huge, become very powerful. What they want from us is to suffocate that fire. The more you can control it, the more you can control it. As soon as you're angry, make wudu. As soon as you're angry, try to go pray. Try to control that anger to the point in which you go on your prayer carpet, and in the prayer carpet begin to cry unto your Lord that I can't control, I was upset. Whatever the difficulty was, if you were able to control yourself from exploding, then go onto your carpet and cry unto your Lord. And then they can turn that fire, instead of the fire of a volcano that burns everything, it becomes the fire of divine ishq, a yearning and a love within the heart. An incredible love and yearning within the heart, that the abd begins to understand that everything is from Allah. So who are you angry with? Allah wants to test the character. Allah controls all of the characters within this play. That's real tawheed. Means people say, why you don't speak of usul? Every teaching is based on the usul, people don't understand it. The real tawheed is to see Allah's hand in everything. There's nothing that could come to you or go away from you that wasn't by Allah's decree. It wasn't Allah was sleeping and somebody did something to you. Everything is by divine decree, and everything is a test. Everything is based on building good characteristics. Means how to build the good characteristics and bring down the bad characteristics, and make that fire to be the fire of divine love. With their recitations and with their practices and with their teachings, they begin to teach, and they hand us to the hand of Sayyidina Musa, and Sayyidina Musa opens up from the reality that the intimacy of this relationship will begin a relationship of speaking with that light. And what they want us to consider is in the reality of Nabi Musa to have achieved such a station in which to have a dialogue with that Divinely light is of an unimaginable yaqeen and certainty. And how Nabi Musa saw Allah was again a fire. He saw Allah as a fire, like a bush, because you see Allah in the condition in which you are in. If you are violent, you see Allah as violent. If you are crazy, you see Allah astaghfirullah, as not making sense. Every condition that we are in, we will see Allah in that way. And Allah said, have you seen those who make their desires their Lord? So without the perfection of character, we can't reach the perfection of understanding of Allah. So Nabi Musa comes because these are the stations of certainty, the intimacy of friendship, and then the next Prophet bringing the intimacy of a relationship. that to hear Allah, to speak with Allah requires that you have an extreme yaqeen in your hearing. Reach the reality of the yaqeen of hearing, so that he was able to speak with Allah but to hear Allah. So how was the condition of his heart when approaching the Divinely Presence? Was symbolic of that burning bush. Means symbolic of the burning love for Allah, that, Ya Rabbi, nothing on the outside is making me happy, and I'm in love with you in such a sense that my heart is on fire. Not that I'm burning people and harming people, but my heart is on fire, and I will not have a satisfaction until I reach your Divinely light. And Nabi Musa begins to teach the intimacy of that light, the proximity of that light is based on that struggle. So still within the understanding of fire and testing, they begin to teach a different version of Nabi Musa. The version that we are taught all the time is that Nabi Musa wanted something and could not accompany Sayyidina Khidr from the knowledges that Sayyidina Khidr had. And Mawlana Shaykh teaching from the oceans of reality that no, Nabi Musa's reality actually is YaSeenWawMeem. Musa, but you cannot understand Nabi Musa by going to the Meem. For that huruf and the understanding of what Allah has put within the name of Sayyidina Musa, you have to start from the other side. Means he has a yaqeen, he has a ya at the end of the name, but you approach from the end to get the understanding of the Meem. To understand what Allah made when He created Nabi Musa and named that creation, is that He gave him the ya of yaqeen, because he's carrying a secret from Prophet, because he wanted to see. With that level of purity, with that level of proximity, it's not jahal that he doesn't know what he's seeing, he knows what he's seeing. He knows that he's approaching the reality of Sayyidina Muhammad. And awliyaullah come into our life and they begin to teach, look to his name. Within the name of Sayyidina Musa has the ya of yaqeen. He carries the sir, nur al-anwar wa sirat al-asrar. He carries that secret of the seen within the being of his name. He carries that seen, he carries ilmu yaqeen, ayn yaqeen, haqq yaqeen. He's carrying the secret of Sayyidina Yasin within him. That's why he reached to that burning bush, means the proximity of the Divinely Presence. He carries the secret of Holy Qur'an, the heart of Holy Qur'an, he carries from the lights of Prophet. That granting that yaqeen, with that level of yaqeen he's lost within the ocean of wow. Is it? Wow. Everywhere else they go say subhanallah, say wow. For the people of Wadud, everything is based on wow. Means lost in the ishq of the wow, lost in the ocean of love to reach to the reality of Meem. The Nabi Musa wanted to witness that reality, where these tajallis and where these blessings are coming. I want to reach that holy face. Allah has no face, astaghfirullah. Everything perishes, but what face? Because we are from the ocean of Muhammadan Rasulullah, means the light and nur of Sayyidina Muhammad, that essence known like a face, that Nabi Musa wanted that. So again, in understanding fire and testing, what Nabi Musa was willing to go through to reach that. That to reach that, Allah says, from the maqam and the station that we're giving you and the proximity in which you have, you're so high. But this way towards the door and the threshold of Sayyidina Muhammad, you're going to have to humiliate yourself and be humble to come to the door of Prophet. Come down to the ground to be nothing in the presence of Sayyidina Muhammad. And immediately samina wa ata'na, and he took to meet one of the servants of Allah, and he intentionally allowed himself to be humiliated by Sayyidina Khidr. That you find me to be patient, made a mistake and got his retribution. Found me to be patient, made a mistake, and again he was scolded by Sayyidina Khidr. Nabi Musa inspiring within us that no matter what darajat Allah gives to you, if you are from the ashiqeen of Sayyidina Muhammad, is you are going to be tested, you are going to be brought down. You have to bring yourself down to reach the threshold of Prophet and take a life of humility, take a life of understanding the difficulties that come to you. Accept those difficulties, don't be so quick to give them away and throw them. That maybe Prophet wants us to be humbled, maybe Prophet wants us to carry something, so we live a life of service. And Nabi Musa begins to teach, I was willing to humble myself. That when he met Sayyidina Khidr he asked immediately, let me to be from your tabi'in, from your students. I will take off my hat of prophecy. For this station I'm asking to reach, I'm not asking as a prophet to reach it. When the Arabs read those words, they know exactly what they're saying. That I'm taking my prophecy off and I'm asking to be your student, accept me as your student on the way. I'm accepting to be humiliated to reach Allah's satisfaction, which is the threshold of Sayyidina Muhammad. Maqam al-Mahmud is for all creation. Every creation is inspired to reach Maqam al-Mahmud, and what Allah gave in Isra wal Miraj. That why the Isra before the Miraj was so that Prophet would go to all the Prophets. And in Jerusalem he met the arwah and the souls of all the Prophets. And they accepted, because when you see Sayyidina Muhammad you have to say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah. Because we don't ever think about what happened with the Isra. That Allah wanted Prophet go to all the Prophets. They have to accept their Islam and accept you, and they have to pray the Muhammadan prayer. So they said they prayed in Jerusalem. How they prayed? They prayed with Sayyidina Muhammad in front, and they said, As-salamu alayka ayyuhan nabi wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu Muhammad Rasulullah, and gave salams. And then Sayyidina Muhammad left for his visit with Allah. Means everything is under the mulk and that dominion of Sayyidina Muhammad. Every story in the Muhammadan reality will tell a story of the voyage to Sayyidina Muhammad. What Sayyidina Isa, what Sayyidina Isa wanted. When he recognized that reality, Ya Rabbi, let me come back in the last of days. Don't let me to witness Prophet in my death. After death it's a much lower maqam. To die, everyone's going to witness the greatness of Prophet. Don't let me to die here, Ya Rabbi, let me to be raised into your presence. That I want to come back as what? Ummatul Muhammad. I don't want my title of prophecy. What Sayyidina Isa gave away was tremendous. Raise me onto your presence, and he took away his title of prophecy, because he comes back not as a prophet of Allah. Otherwise then there would be a prophet after the prophecy of Sayyidina Muhammad. Is khatam, is Prophet is the khatam. But Sayyidina Isa is coming to be from Ummatul Muhammad. That I merely want to be from the followers of Sayyidina Muhammad, and I want to die in that state. We pray that Allah open for us the greatness of Prophet, the love of Sayyidina Muhammad, and that the realities that open within the month of Rajab, Sha'ban and Ramadan. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifoon wa salaamun al mursaleen walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Bi hurmati Muhammad al Mustafa wa bi sirri Surat al Fatiha.